Ask the Messengers, the program that deals with substance abuse, real people telling real stories. Hosted by Pastor Lester Lewis, co-host Charlize Wilkerson and Leroy Carey. Produced by David Humphreys. Where there is addiction, there is a chance for recovery. We're trying to help save lives on Ask the Messengers.
Today on Ask the Messengers, we are talking about marijuana, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We continue our series giving you the best information possible regarding marijuana. On the show today, we have with us Akil Eckford. He is the Youth Drug-Free Club Coordinator for the Black Caucus Foundation of Michigan. Also with us, clinical social worker Blaine Burks. Also, we have with us our resident authority, Dr. Linda, who is a medical doctor. On today's show, we're going to talk about marijuana, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Welcome to the show. I am Lester Lewis, your host. And again, we're going to be talking about and continuing our series on marijuana. Akil, as a millennial, what is your view on marijuana use?
I'm against it. And the reason why I'm against it is because I started using marijuana at the age of 12 years old, and it actually broke up my family. And doing that, I ended up going to rehab for about 3-4 weeks. And then I ended up coming out of rehab, going into my 8th grade year, and started using promethazine. So
tell us, you just said you started at the age of 12. Now,
12.
Who introduced you to marijuana? How did you get involved with it?
Somebody in my complex, he was about 19, 20 years old.
Okay, so somebody that was older introduced you to it,
yes,
and then you began to use, and then you ended up in rehab.
Yes.
Okay, so now, and Dr. Linda, we learned that, and we know that smoking marijuana before the age of 25 can have detrimental results on your brain. Can you tell us about that?
Well, first of all, I really want to commend this young man for coming up and sharing his experiences, because those are the things that people listen to. And I heard his story, and it's amazing. And if it can help someone not go down that path, it's great. But if your brain is developed, or your brain is developing until the age of 25, and when you introduce a substance like marijuana or any drugs, alcohol, that changes your brain for forming normally.
Okay, so if a young child before that age, it can actually be, it's detrimental to their brain development.
Without a doubt.
Wow.
And now we're seeing a whole generation of kids who are starting not at 12, but they're being introduced at the preschool, not at the preschool, but at the elementary school level.
Wow.
To this drug. And so you're getting a whole generation of people, of young kids, for God's sake, that have brains that are just quieted, that are not working properly. And so we may even see a whole generation of people like that, and that wouldn't be good for society at all.
Right. So now, Blaine, let me ask you this question, because you said that as a clinical social worker, you're also seeing young people coming in as a result of marijuana use and abuse.
Yes, ironically, it all starts out as being good when a person is initially introduced to any form of mood or mind-altering chemical. But ultimately, the effects of marijuana, especially on young people, is it makes them amotivational. They lose drive, determination. Wow. They lose direction. And this is one of the effects that, people don't want to look at, that it's a harmless chemical. That's the way all these drugs start. Alcohol was looked at during Prohibition as something harmless, but nobody really looks at the deep impact that alcohol plays on people's lives. And the verdict is still out on marijuana as far as the real detrimental effect that it will have on individuals.
So Blaine, now and again, we want to talk about now the legalization of marijuana for medicinal use as well as recreational use. But what if those adults are smoking in the presence of children? What would that do to them?
That is giving a message to a child that this is an okay behavior. If I see my parents indulging in this kind of behavior, then that's giving me permission subconsciously that this is okay for me to do at some other late date or time or opportunity.
Right, and as Akil said, and you can elaborate on this, is that someone in your complex, a 19-year-old who was at that point, had no business sharing it with you, a 12-year-old.
Yes.
Can you just tell us about how that impacted you, seeing them do it, and did that impress you and you wanted to do it?
Seeing them do it, I did want to do it as well. And even now, as I go into the schools, I talk to a lot of kids, a lot of high school kids, and they actually do it with their parents.
Wow. So, Doc, let me ask you a question now. Do you see that coming into the to the place of where you are practicing medicine? How is it being a detriment to young people? Are you seeing that as well?
So we all know that we're modeling for our kids' behavior. It goes without saying. So if you're drinking all the time, the child's watching you. If you're smoking marijuana or any mind-altering drugs, the kid's going to see it. It goes without saying.
Okay. So now, listen, we're going to continue this conversation. And as you can probably tell, our show today is kind of really leaning toward the bad. We here at Ask the Messengers are proud to bring you real people sharing their real stories. These are not actors. This is not scripted. This is not the reality TV shows that you may see on the networks.
What was your drug of choice?
Marijuana and alcohol and ecstasy pills.
Marijuana.
Marijuana, my drug of choice.
Can you tell us a little bit about how you started using marijuana?
I don't know. It started off me loving the smell, just, and next thing I know, I was dipping into the ashtrays from what the grown folks was leaving.
The first time I ever probably smoked marijuana, man, I was probably about I'm trying not to laugh though because it's hurtful. You know what I'm saying? But the first time I smoked marijuana was probably about when I was 8 years old, 8 or 7 or 8 years old.
How old were you when you first started using?
11.
And how did you get a hold to it?
Some friends in the neighborhood, they had older brothers and sisters, and I guess they were using me for a guinea pig to try some marijuana. And I smoked that first joint and was wilding out.
How old were you when you started using marijuana?
18.
What was it like while using marijuana?
At first it was a feeling of relief. I used it instead of taking my mental health medication. So I thought it was a euphoric feeling, a feel good. But after that, it became a need. My body craved it, my mind craved it, my mouth craved it. Yeah, it became a real need.
Yeah, I still smoke marijuana. You know what I'm saying? I ain't smoking it on a daily basis like I used to, but I still smoke marijuana though. Sometimes I smoke it every day. Sometimes I smoke it 2 or 4 times a day. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes I can go months without smoking it. That's my medicine, man. That's my psychosis medicine that these doctors are trying to put on you and put all these labels on some of us. I'm strong in the mind. I got a strong mind, so I know how to control myself. You know what I'm saying? Y'all did what I'm saying? Yeah, I'm gonna quit one day, maybe later in my life. You know what I'm saying? I'm 23 years old. I'm a young man. You know what I'm saying? I'm out here. That's what I'm supposed to be doing right now. Having fun, living my life. But it's just sad because I'm homeless. I don't know what else to do.
We'll be right back with more of Ask the Messengers.
After receiving a delinquent property tax bill for the 2 lots connected to my home, I was concerned. I didn't even know that I had a past due bill. I went down to the Wayne County Treasurer's office, and the staff worked with me to keep my property out of foreclosure.
My property taxes became delinquent after I fell behind on my bills. Treasurer Sabri and his staff came to the town hall in my city and provided information about resources available to help me. At the meeting, I found out about payment plan options.
Let us help you. Our goal is 0 owner-occupied properties getting foreclosed and going to the auction. Come down to our office at 400 Monroe in downtown Detroit on the 5th floor. Call 313-224-5990 during our normal business hours from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. and until 6:30 p.m. on Wednesdays. Or email textinfo@waynecounty.com for assistance. Take the first step. Contact our office today.
It worked for us.
Detroiters love Imperial Fresh Markets. You don't have to wait to receive our best deals by mail or handbill anymore. Now get our weekly sales circular early online at imperialfreshmarkets.com. Don't wait for delivery. Get the circular now at imperialfreshmarkets.com. Also check the website for special deals throughout the week. Check us out on Instagram too. imperialfreshmarkets.com, where Detroiters love to shop. Open daily.
Ask the Messengers, the program that deals with substance abuse. Real people telling real stories. Every Sunday morning at 8 a.m. on WMYD Detroit TV 20.
We all know how hard it is to find great deals for insurance. That's why you gotta come and see me, Cousin Alex, located conveniently at 7 Mile and Schaefer. If you do have tickets, you do have accidents, I get it. Come on by my office and let me show you how I can get you that low down payments. So now you know where we at. Now you know who you need to come and see. Cousin Alex got you.
Call Cousin Alex at 313-340-4444. And don't forget to tell him, Ask the Messenger sent you.
I'm Artesia Washington, and I'd like to welcome you to Irvine Head Injury, where restoring you to your previous level of functioning is our goal. We offer services such as physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech and language pathology, aquatic therapy, massage therapy, and counseling. An automobile accident is an unfortunate event. If you feel that you or a loved one can benefit from our services, you can be reached at 248-415-2500. We look forward to hearing from you.
Marijuana, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We are back, and Akil, we want you to share more of your story about marijuana use and what you went through.
When I was doing marijuana, my mother and my sister, they played a really big role in my life. So actually hurting my family by doing drugs, it tore us all apart. I was running away from home. I was being rebellious, and I ended up getting kicked out of school as well for doing promethazine when I was doing lean. So with that, I got kicked out of school for 180 days. I couldn't go to any school in Michigan, couldn't get accepted anywhere unless I moved out the state. So with that, I had to wait my whole 9th grade year to get back into regular school. And so during that, me and my mom, we actually built our trust. We got our trust back together. I got closer to my family because I was off of all the drugs already. So with that, it does help a family come together, but it does break them apart depending on what you're doing. So
now you just said that you had your mom and your sister were close. So now look, the kids right now, the millennials, they believe that smoking weed is the end thing to do.
Yes.
But your experience does not say that it's a good thing.
Yes.
Yeah. So now, what advice are you right now you're sharing with people through your work? How are you telling them about drugs?
Now I'm going to every high school in Detroit, every middle school, and telling my story and telling the people the consequences on what goes on behind using drugs. So if somebody is a high school basketball player and they're smoking weed and they got a full ride scholarship somewhere and they get caught smoking weed, their whole scholarship is gone. That's what I really want to get the kids to understand, the consequences behind doing drugs.
All right. So, Blaine, now you've got, again, as a clinical social worker, do you see those come in who have struggled, and what advice do you give them about how to get off that stuff?
My suggestion is to get into some form of treatment, to get with individuals that are aware of and familiar with the use of the marijuana. Try to get connected with other youth. Probably more youth are more effective with dealing with young people than an older person like myself. So my suggestion is that they get with a younger person that they can identify and relate to, and therefore get the information and insight that they need to deal with this issue.
So Akil, you said in open, you talked about how you go into schools. Tell us, how many schools are you guys in? How many people do you touch? And is it effective? Are you getting results from it?
We are at 9 schools in Detroit. We service 1,200 students, and yes, it is very effective because coming from a young person, they will listen to me before they listen to a adult that's older.
Now, why do you think that is? Tell us, because I think our viewing audience need to understand why this generation will listen to you before they'll listen to someone of my age or even Blaine or even Dr. Linda.
Because the older people have to keep up with the time, and nowadays the older people are not keeping up with the time, so they're going to talk to.
So Facebook ain't in no more.
Facebook,
we done. Yeah.
But I'm going to step out and say this: smoking marijuana, doing heroin, feels good. People don't want to agree to that, but it does feel good. If it didn't feel good, all of these kids and adults wouldn't be doing it. But what Akil said is the most critical part of this is ultimately the consequences are bad.
Right.
The end. It is the end of the road that is bad.
Yeah. So and again,
so it is feeling good.
That's that old saying. What if it may feel good for you, but it ain't good for you.
That's correct.
And so feel good to you, but it ain't good to you.
Ultimately, Akil lost his family, relationships with his family doing drugs, but while he was doing it, he was feeling good because in many cases, it's treating something that's missing.
I mean, and again, all of our right now, the millennials, they have many of the role models. That's what they do. They smoke weed. And now that with the legalization here in Michigan and the THC and all the other things, what is the difference between THC, CBD oil, all those things? And listen, we're going to, when we come back, we're going to get a good explanation from Blaine as well as Dr. Linda, and then we're also going to talk with Akil some more about his story. So don't go anywhere. Ask the Messengers is going to return with more of this topic. Marijuana, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Changing an addict's life and providing support to the addict's family is the goal of the Live Right Structured Recovery Corps. Free yoga and spiritual recovery classes on Thursday, automotive maintenance class, and physical nutritional classes on Friday. Visit their new residential recovery resource center located at 27700 Gratiot Avenue in Roseville, Michigan. Live Right also accepts donations of cars, trucks, boats, and campers in any condition. For more information and a complete list of their events, go to their website at liverightstructuredcorp.com or call 586-217-5899. Life short, live right.
After receiving a delinquent property tax bill for the 2 lots connected to my home, I was concerned. I didn't even know that I had a past due bill. I went down to the Wayne County Treasurer's office and the staff worked with me to keep my property out of foreclosure.
My property taxes became delinquent after I fell behind on my bills. Treasurer Sabri and his staff came to the town hall in my city and provided information about resources available to help me. At the meeting, I found out about payment plan options.
Let us help you. Our goal is 0 owner-occupied properties getting foreclosed and going to the auction. Come down to our office at 400 Monroe in downtown Detroit on the 5th floor. Call 313-224-5990 during our normal business hours from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. and until 6:30 p.m. on Wednesdays. Or email textinfo@waynecounty.com for assistance. Take the first step. Contact our office today.
It worked for us.
Hi, this is Tony from Expert Car Care on 8 Mile between Wyoming and Livernois. I'd like to welcome you to Detroit City, where the potholes are also Come on in for our $10 Spring and Sprung Make You Holler Pothole Safety Inspection. Come on in. I'm going to help you out today. Call me right now at 313-341-6666 and I can qualify you with our 90-day same-as cash plan. All you need is a checking account. Car repair comes at the worst time. Call me right now at 341-6666 for our 90-day same-as cash plan.
Welcome back to the show. We are continuing our conversation on marijuana, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Akil, you talked about how you, as smoking marijuana, it also led you into other things. One of the things you talked about was lean. Can you explain what that is, and also talk about how you went into other things?
Yeah, I want to know.
Well, lean is promethazine and codeine mixed together. I actually got introduced to that by going to my new school, and somebody older, again, introduced me to it on the bus. And we started doing it on the bus before school, after school, and it got very serious to the point where I was coming home, getting very tired, getting very sluggish during the day, and it messed me up.
So now, Blaine, you talked about also what the effects of this drug is. So it's and in fact, you said it's the same thing that was happening in the 60s and 70s.
Actually, what's occurring right now is basically the same thing that our generation was doing in the late 60s and early 70s, was drinking Ammonel and Robitussin. So, again, marijuana and alcohol are gateway drugs. We went from smoking marijuana and drinking alcohol to using cough syrup, and then progressed from there to the heroin and the cocaine. But I did want to make a point as far as the generational thing. Yes, parents may not be in step with a lot of this Facebook and Instagram and all that stuff, but it's certain common sense things that transcend generationally that still apply. I don't care if it's applicable to whatever generation that we're dealing with. My great-grandmother raised me. She was born in 1885, lived to be 101, but she taught us some common sense things that still are applicable to us today, and we learned to be appreciative for the information and the knowledge that she gave to us.
Now, Akil has another viewpoint and vantage point of how adults are out of sync and out of touch, and they're not speaking and telling instructing the kids in a way that's helpful. Can you tell us about what would be helpful ways to do that?
A lot of helpful ways to do that is actually sit down with your kids and talk to them. Don't yell at them. Don't try to preach at them. Don't throw the Bible at them, but just sit down and talk to them and talk about real life situations, because that was a real problem with me and my mom. She would always try to preach at me, but at the same time, now our relationship is better because we actually sit down and talk about the things we have to do to recover, the things we have to do to get over the obstacle we're at now. And a lot of parents are just not doing that with their kids, and I feel like that's something that everybody has to do. I'm not saying it's an older thing or a younger thing, but at the same time, just don't preach at your kids and don't push on them that, oh, you can't do this, because a lot of kids rebel, and I was one of those kids.
Hey, but one thing we have to realize, parents, is when your child is abusing, you have to pay attention to the signs. And here are the 3 signs. Okay, listen up, because they're out there. When a kid's drinking a whole bottle of cough syrup, he's not awake too often. He's sleeping a whole lot. That's a sign that they're abusing. A number 2 sign is their grades change. And number 3, the friends they're with change. So parents, have your eyes wide open. You have to pay attention to the signs of abuse. Wouldn't you agree, Akil?
I do agree with that, because that is something I said at a summit that I spoke at. They have to pay attention to the signs, because that's why a lot of parents are not awake, because they're not paying attention to the signs, and that's why they're not in sync no more.
Wow. Blaine?
I think it's difficult for a parent to try to proselytize or talk to their children or preach to their children, as a young man said, and they're not leading with the correct example.
Sure, exactly.
If the parents are drinking and smoking and doing all this other stuff, it's hard to tell the kettle that you black and you the pan. You black also. It's difficult to try to make some kind of impact on a young person if they see you basically indulging in the same type of behavior that they caught up in.
So we're trying to in this generation, the whole aspect of do as I say and not as I do, that don't work.
That don't work.
You have to be an example in front of them.
Yes.
And so many people they don't value the worth of their children enough to say, I need to make some adjustments in my life so that I can be a better example to them. Yeah. And so, Doc, and I know you see a lot of things that come into the hospital that probably are out of this world. And so parents have a role in helping their children.
Got to be parents. Parents got to be parents and not kids.
Wow. All right, Akil. Now, you one last thing, and from you, and now you personally know teenagers who use marijuana recreationally, and from your vantage point, what's the most effective way to help them to get to the place in which they realize that they're doing the wrong thing?
Finding another outlet other than doing drugs, because a lot of teenagers I talk to, they're doing it because they're stressed and they're coping with something. That's a lot of teens nowadays. They're not doing it just because it's fun, just because it's something behind that of something they're doing. They're stressed about school and everything.
All right. Well, listen, let me get a final thought from you, Blaine, about this topic.
My final thought about this is that you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. And my thing with young people, like the young man said, it's important for parents to communicate and dialogue with their children. Like he say, screaming and hollering is not going to be effective in trying to get a point across to any individual, whether it's your child or not. A person not going to be receptive to receiving the information. I don't care how valid that it might be. The point is, like you say, we play an important role as role models, and we play an important role, like the doctors say, to look at the signs of the individuals. The signs is if a person is having more frequent contact with the criminal justice system, if there's problems at work or school, if there's problems within the family, then you have to look at the possibility that there is a connection between those problem areas and the use of any mood or mind altering chemicals.
All right. Akil, how about yourself?
Say that again.
The final thought. What's your final thought on this?
Final thought is just parents, I just want you guys to sit down with your kids. Don't yell at them. Just be an open mind. If they do something, it's real. We're in a real world now. It's real time, and time is moving at a rapid rate. So you got to keep up with the time, because it's not back in the day anymore. And I just want to tell you guys that you got to keep up with the times and keep up with your children and pay attention to the signs, like Doc said.
All right. And Dr. Linda?
Akil's my hero. He is my new hero. You know what? He said so eloquently that they're just not doing this for just having fun, even though, just remember, parents, it does feel good when you got a lot of problems and you got a lot of stress. But treat the anxiety, get rid of the drugs.
So what's the message here? Ask the messengers to believe that we have a message to share. And one of the things you must understand is that your actions as a parent or as an adult plays a role in how your children, in other words, it is the biblical message of what you sow, you will also reap. In other words, what you put out is what you're going to get back. And it is important. If you want a productive family, a productive child, you got to put things in them that are productive and be better examples, not just talk what you want, but also live what you want. Won't you help us in our effort to help save lives? We would love to have you as a partner in helping us save lives. Your donation of any size would be considered a true blessing. Also, we'd love to hear from you. Go on any of our social media outlets and connect with us in any way you can. Also, if you got a question that you'd like to have answered on the air, please drop us a line on our inbox. Also, we believe here at Ask the Messengers that love is what love does, and we want to love you to life. We'll see you next time on Ask the Messenger.